So these very messy pictures are the before pictures of Emma-Oline's room before I did it again, because what you see here is what is a room that I already did once. So I gave Emma-Oline's room a big makeover in 2019, and she was 7 at the time, barely 7 at the time. And her room has always been pink because that's my favorite color. And so that was how it started. It was also green. I did this bed, the pink bed. You can't actually see it in the first pictures, but it's actually really nice pink with glitter, and I loved it. When I did her room, I didn't realize that the way I put the furniture wasn't a good idea. I put them the way I did because I didn't want to block the window, and then that was the only place I could put a bed. I didn't want to block the window or the radiator, which is right underneath the window. But putting the bed on the side wall and then the desk on the other side wall created a really narrow space in the middle, and it wasn't really working for her. I thought that she would have used the space under the bed as a hideout or something like that, a little reading nook or something, but she didn't. So eventually I turned that into her closet. So I put up a clothes rack and we put clothes in there. But whenever she had people over, they couldn't really be in there because the bed was up high and you couldn't sit in it, and it was a narrow space and it just wasn't working. So last year, over a pretty long period of time, because I was also working, I changed her room. So the first bed was an IKEA hack, where the bottom of the bed were 2 dressers, a tall white and a tall skinny one. And the way that I put the bed on them, I didn't screw into them, so I didn't ruin them. I screwed into the wall, and then I made support on the 2 dressers, and that was basically how I anchored it. So I basically kept all her stuff in her room and worked around it, which was a pain in the neck, but I didn't want it in the entire living room. And what you see here is the 2 dressers after I pulled the bed frame off. So I basically just took the frame and flipped it around and refitted it somewhere else in the room. I knocked off the end wall. I couldn't unscrew it because I had caulked all the holes. And I tried with a metal detector. I couldn't see them, so I tried with a metal detector. I still couldn't find the screws. So I cut it down, the whole front part. That really hurt my heart because that pretty pink glitter off front was just so nice. But I cut it down, and that turned out to be a really good idea because I couldn't push the bed. I couldn't mount the bed on the wall. I couldn't push it against the wall because of the radiator. So the bed is actually this like in front of the radiator, and that creates a really big gap from the bed to the wall. And so with that old front, it actually holds a mattress. So the initial plan was to have the bed high and in the actual window, up in the windowsill, so it felt like she would sit there and look out in the garden. But it turned out to not be a good idea. First of all, it was just really too tall. But second of all, the mattress was so high, and then it created a hole down into the windowsill. And down there, all kinds of things would fall. And it was just dusty, and it didn't look good, and she couldn't use the windowsill anymore. Because when you have the walls, your window is not flat with the wall. It goes in or out, but it creates a space down there, and that wasn't working. So we decided to make it lower again, or just make it lower, and that made it easier to actually get into the bed as well. I did reuse all of her furniture. I really just rearranged them. So this is the tall, skinny dresser and the desk and the tall white dresser. I also got her a new clothes rack, and all of this created a really big space in the middle of the floor. Another thing that I didn't foresee would happen was that the space that was created between the side of the bed and the wall, because the bed couldn't go against the wall because of the radiator. It was about a space this size, I guess, that my daughter would hang in that space. And so one day she came out and she was like, I'm so sore in my back. And she kept complaining. And I wanted to give her a massage, and I saw her. And her pelvis area was doing like that. She was so crooked from hanging in that hole. So to prevent her from hanging in that hole, I built a railing or a backrest or whatever you want to call it. And we were so lucky that a colleague of mine were giving blue paint away, so we are also working on painting the wall here. And Emma-Oline really wanted blue, so that couldn't have been better. But a really big space was also created under the bed, and we really needed that for storage, but we didn't want it to look that messy. So I set up shop outside and found some OSB boards from my shed and decided to build some boxes to go under the bed. Some really long drawers. I built 3 and I really custom made them to fit the exact space under her bed. And then I found some really nice golden hardware and put on there. I fitted new MDF board on the frame to hide it, and I caulked the seams so you couldn't tell, and primed. And finally I spray painted gold, which I cannot recommend doing inside because it smelled so bad for so long. It is also important to note that I kept the frame lower in the middle, so when you sit in the bed, you don't hit your bottom on the frame when you go in and out, but it's still taller by the end, so the mattress stays in the bed. And that was how Emma-Oline's room makeover was done and how I made her bed. And if you're interested in more content like this, I do have a DIY playlist that you can check out.